If you are an American citizen and it excites you that Donald John Trump has been indicted and that he may even go to prison, well, there are some things that I want you to consider. We'll talk about why that's an attack against democracy coming up next. Sure, you can't see this right now. Of the millions and billions of people who've ever walked the planet, they never do see this coming. When Joseph Stalin decided that he needed to take out all of his political enemies, those who supported him stood behind him while he used the laws and created new ones, weaponized an entire system against his political enemies. Ultimately, that same system came back to be weaponized against the people that supported him. Not only did he eliminate his political enemies, he started to eliminate his allies. And to this day, there's a dispute as to how many people did Joseph Stalin actually kill. Some say 20 million, some say 40 million. Estimates go all the way up to 70 million people. Started with him using the systems that were available to him against his political enemies. It ended with a murder of up to maybe 70 million people. Same thing happened in Nazi Germany, the Enabling Act. Adolf Hitler used the same political system and laws that were available to him and created some new ones to go after his political enemies. And ultimately, well, you know how the Holocaust story goes. This is a story that has been played time and time again. When a political party or despotic dictator decides that they want to go after people, they start with their political enemies. We'll go deeper into this next. This current indictment of Donald Trump didn't start with the 14th or even the 13th of June. This started back in 2016 when Donald Trump burst onto the political scene to challenge the establishment. Donald Trump from the beginning was an enemy to the status quo. Now, I didn't necessarily agree with everything that Donald Trump did or said, but I did agree with America first. I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but it wasn't necessarily because I thought he was a bad person or a bad candidate. It was because at that time, I simply only voted Democrat. At the end of the day, they've been after Donald Trump since 2016. When they could not beat Donald Trump at the polls, they started the Russiagate hoax. And for 4 years, they continued to push Russian collusion in our election. That has since come out as a hoax. It's since been proven that it was all a lie. Yet, there's been no backlash over that. Suddenly, everything is buzzwords in the media, meaning everybody's babbling the same language on the right and the left. Suddenly, nobody is above the law, and we have to hold our leaders accountable. I expect that from the left, but when you hear it from the right, it screams of an agenda. So what is the agenda? The agenda is what it has always been. The establishment on the right and the left have circled their wagons, and they've decided to go after an outsider. Donald Trump remains a threat to the status quo, the deep state, the military industrial complex. Everything that is wrong with this government. In so many ways, Donald Trump represents a threat to the established order, and he must go. And they are using the criminal justice system, a weaponized legal system, to eliminate that threat. We'll talk more about that coming up next. Folks, the facts are this. This country has been overrun with communists, socialists, basically any un-American idea that you can think of, it's here. We've been infiltrated from within. All of our political leaders and many of the corporate leaders around the country, at every echelon of government as well as the private sector, many are communists. And if they're not communists, they're socialists, which is basically communism light. Many people have un-American ideas. This is something that has been going on for the last generation. See, in order to understand this, you have to study the works of people like Saul Alinsky. You have to study the radical tradition of those who have come to essentially destroy the current world order and establish a new world order. Many of these people hate America and what America stands for. And so they seek to divide us by any means necessary. They'll divide us by gender lines. They'll divide us by sexual preferences. They'll divide us by class and income. They'll divide us by anything that you can think of. They'll use it to pit groups against one another. And while you're busy fighting someone based on whatever that dividing line is, they're changing laws, they're weaponizing systems, and anyone who stands in the way, they'll weaponize those systems against them. Donald Trump right now is one of those people. You can bet your last dollar. If you see unity on both sides of the aisle against one person, that probably should serve as a warning sign that something is not right. This has happened before, and it's happening again. I just hope that we're smart enough to not fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. We'll talk more after this. You see, this is the part where political maturity must come into play. I don't have to agree with you. I don't even have to like you. But this is what it means to be an American. I will fight for your right to be wrong. You see, we all have a choice. I don't have to vote for you. I don't have to spend my money with you. If I disagree with you, I can simply not support you. I don't have to root for a kangaroo court against you, because that same kangaroo court used against you, at some point, it boomerangs back around to me. In short, hating Donald Trump doesn't hurt him, and it cannot help you. But simply looking the other way while a corrupt government goes after a man, finding the man, targeting the man, looking for a crime for years, eventually that comes right back around to you. So when the American government finally gets to the point where it decides that you are the problem, who's going to be there to fight for you? Something to think about. Democracy is under attack.